Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Groom A with Humanery. Today, we have with us Andy Withycombe, who is the founder of TenT Nutrition. It's an incredible brand that covers a wide range of products, anywhere from well-being and wellness to skincare and hair care. And actually, the funny story is Andy and TenT were one of the first few brands to join Humanery when we launched in late Q4 2021. So we always have a special place in our hearts for Andy and TenT. Andy, thank you so much for being here after quite a few trials to try and get you on. Thanks for making the time. Good to have you here.
No problem. What is this, about the fifth attempt? So my background is fashion, men's fashion and men's grooming. So pretty much a 50-50 split. I started out in men's fashion and then moved into men's grooming and worked with one of the UK's biggest men's grooming brands and helped them grow. Mm-hmm. And during that time, I always had the idea that I wanted to make something of my own, which would help people, but it was always quite a difficult task to find something that was quite niche and something that perhaps men don't think about as much. And the way TenT came about is actually 2015 going into 16. I went on a holiday with a good friend of mine, and we went to Buenos Aires. And we were in a casino, not really doing any betting, just having a drink at the bar. And there was a big light over my head. Uh-huh. And he said, Jesus, you're going bald.
Oh, no.
And yeah. And it's probably pretty much spent all night lying there. And, you think about the world crisis, and I'm sat there lying there worried about losing my hair. And I made a concerted effort right there and then to look into literally everything, natural or medical or whatever, to try and stop my hair from falling out.
So what did you do? Did you like Google this, or did you have something that you were reading? Like, how did you get that information?
It was a full target search. It was everything. So we're talking, obviously Google is the obvious, speaking to nutritionists, speaking to dermatologists. I mean, I really took it personally.
Yeah. I feel you. Like, I know this is often not spoken about topics. We're so glad you're bringing this up, but a lot of men out there have the same problem. You're totally right.
And it's almost, I found myself almost being embarrassed to talk about it, even though inside it's like killing me. And it shouldn't really kill me, because at the end of the day, it's only hair. But at the same time, often feel, when you look good, or you think you look good, you feel good, which makes your life a bit better, so there is a kind of domino effect to realizing that you're losing your hair, and it can make you feel a bit crap. I was always looking for a more natural approach, because I don't like going down the medical route, and I was never going to do a hair transplant just because that's just not my killer. So
sorry to interject, Andy, but why natural and why not the medicated route? What was your thinking behind that?
I just thought, because I've always been into kind of fitness and nutrition and these things, and it just felt more me, to be honest. That I didn't really want to be putting in something which, they're very slight, but they can have real consequences if you go down the Finistrad route, for example.
Side effects.
They can have real consequences to you. They can, kill your libido, which is probably the least. But if you're single, you don't really want that. They can cause, very rarely, real serious illnesses. They can cause depression. I had a friend of mine who was on it with a well-known UK brand, and I'm not going to say who, and he was using it for a couple of months. And he did say, I feel like there was a bit of improvement, but I can suffer from depression.
Yeah.
And he felt like it was bringing it on. And, there's a lot of research into these things.
That's right.
And, it was never designed to be a hair product. It was designed to reduce your prostate. And it just happens to help grow your hair.
Exactly. The sort of side effect of the prostate treatment was that it actually promoted hair growth, or sort of slowed down hair growth. Yeah. Hair loss. Yeah.
It blocked the DHT, which I'm sure anyone who has ever had hair loss issues is like the first thing they learn about. What's DHT?
Correct.
Yeah. But so I did try them. I'm not going to lie, I did try them, because I thought I'm going to try everything. And It wasn't for me. I ended up in a doctor's office one day thinking that I might have had a lump on my chest. It's a long old story, and I decided for me that wasn't worth it. So I stuck to the nutritional way of doing it and the more natural way. And essentially, I found myself using a collection of different products. So saw palmetto, which essentially is a much lighter DHT blocker than the medical stuff, but it does have elements in it that will slow down DHT. Biotin, which is, the super well-known. Yeah. Although actually, it weirdly was one of the last things to pop up for me, which is ironic considering it's one of the most well-known. And then just the different vitamins that work, obviously folic acid, and then different vitamins. I found myself taking lots of different ones, and I realized I was telling all my friends, the ones which had any kind of follicle issues, to go and buy all this stuff. It's like, you got to buy this, you got to buy this, you got to buy this. This is the stuff. Yeah. Whilst, without thinking about it, also trying to come up with an idea to get into the men's grooming industry. And I'm telling everyone to go and buy this stuff. And, I'm obsessed with nutrition anyway. And I just thought, well, wait a minute. Why am I telling everyone to go and buy these 4 or 5 different products? Why don't I just, research and look into doing it myself? I've always worked with really good brands. So for me, it was, I didn't want any anti-caking agents. I didn't want any bulking agents, because as you get into it more and more and more, and you learn more and more and more, you realize, wait a minute. So if I go to Sainsbury's and buy a vitamin D supplement, which, a lot of people do, and they don't really read the label because it just says vitamin D on it, they don't realize that actually, in cases up to like 60% of what you're swallowing is just the filler. So it's just the stuff you can have. It depends how much vitamin C they want to put in it, or vitamin D. So if you're charging someone 59p for a bottle of, 100 capsules, as you can find on Amazon or you can find in Sainsbury's, it has to be done at a cost value, right? So it has to be filled with all this stuff. So
didn't think of that.
Yeah, and you'll find there's some other really good brands out there that are doing nutritional stuff, and if I had to just choose, I use Viridian as my bar, because I just think for making individual vitamin D, vitamin C, I think they're just great. There's some other really good ones out there as well. But anyway, I realized I was telling everybody else to buy this stuff. And then I thought, well, wait a minute. Women have been doing this for years. Women know all this stuff. Men don't. Men think of nutrition as, or supplements as creatine or protein powder for the gym. And then if you're feeling a bit rough, you take a Barocca, right? Yeah. Whereas women have been using collagen and biotin and all these other things for years, and we're taking our time to catch up, but it is happening.
That's right. I think there's just a big gap in education, awareness, and another point you made earlier on. There's also a little bit of stigma. There is this perception that, if I do this stuff, I'm not, quote unquote manly enough, which is all untrue. I mean, the supplements and good quality stuff for your well-being is for everyone, not just for one gender or the other.
My idea of masculinity is not giving a crap what other people think. So if you want to take supplements and you want to feel good about yourself, or you want to use a moisturizer, you want to use a tinted moisturizer, you want to use a dry shampoo and follow that with a blow dry, if that makes you happy, who cares? It's no one else's business. So you should never feel ashamed about that.
It's what makes you feel better from the inside and gives you the ability to be your best in whatever. Absolutely. 100% agreement.
And that transfers into your life, job, personal, whatever. Everything becomes slightly better if you feel better. Sorry, just back to the TenT thing. So working with, I have a friend who's a nutritionist, and he introduced me to a couple of other nutritionists, and it just was coming up with this idea, and the idea was to be with the tagline, men's grooming reimagined, which is probably super ubiquitous now, but at the time that was kind of like the North Star. It was, it was about telling men, you don't it doesn't have to all be on the outside. Do some stuff from the inside. Learn what the women have known for years, and it can be masculine. It can be these things. So with that, it was decided to do 3 products. Like, what were the core things? So the obvious core one was hair.
Yeah.
So hair, I mean, that was where this all bred from, was from my ego. No, it bred from my desire to really stop myself from balding, or at least hold on to what I could. And then skin next. As I said, I turned 40 last year.
Yeah. And
you can have the world's thickest hair in the world, but if the skin is looking a bit ragged, then you still might not feel that great. And then the other one, which I decided at the time was more important than anything else in terms of joining, because I felt like 3 was a nice package, was sleep.
Yeah.
The reason being, the more and more I looked into hair and skin, but both of them, the more, and working out, because I enjoy working out, the more sleep just kept ticking up to the top of the list. And without sleep, you might as well give up on everything else, because it's during these, during a solid sleep session is when your cells regenerate, is when your hair regenerates, is when it's when your muscles grow, it's when, your fat is burning. So all this kind of stuff, it obviously happens slightly during the day, but during the night, it happens, 100 times.
This is an incredibly inspiring story, Andy. And also, I want to acknowledge and thank you for sharing something that is not easy to talk about, that your insecurities, you called it your ego, but I actually think this was driven by a lot of self-awareness. And it's so good to hear you talk about it, so that hopefully other men can get inspired by your experience.
I hope so. I mean, I was a bit, as I said, I was a bit embarrassed about it at the beginning. People were like, oh, I didn't tell anyone I was trying any of this stuff. Or if they asked why I'm taking like green tea every single minute of every single day, it was, I'm just trying to be healthy. Whereas the real reason was I was just determined to try and stop.
I actually want to ask you a question about this. This is an instance. Let's say another male consumer is just getting started with exploring a self-care routine, and they come to you for some general advice. How do you recommend they get started with skincare, hair care, or any other self-care routine? Like you talked about sleep, for instance. What's the most practical thing that they can do to get started? And you can talk about your own brand, the context of the TenT nutrition products, or just generally, for you're giving general advice to someone that's just getting started, thinking, how do I go on with this? I want to do what Andy was able to, solve sort of my image issues, but by really looking after myself.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the first thing anyone needs to do is what are you trying to achieve? Are you, do you want, my core aim at the time when this kind of came to mind was to save my hair.
Yeah.
So that was my core drive. But if someone's just coming generally and is like, I just want to look better, I see my friends, they've adopted these routines, or with social media everywhere and everything, I just want to feel better about myself, I want to look better, then I would say first thing to do a little bit of research, because everybody is different.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned it, you've mentioned it in a couple of different podcasts that you've done, that there's a difference between oily skin, dry skin.
Yeah.
Does that guy realize that? Does he know what he's got? Does he have wrinkles? Does he not have wrinkles? Does he have acne? Does he not have acne? Does he have curly hair? Does he have straight hair? All these things actually make a difference when you're picking out a product. I don't think a lot of men realize that. I think they think, I'll just walk into Boots and this moisturizer's semi-expensive and that looks all right. And, that's hair wax, that VO5 hair wax, which is a totally fine hair wax. But if it is not for the right hair,
it can be damaging. Yeah.
Not only damaging, but it could just make you look rubbish. You know what I mean? You're like, if you've got long hair and you put VO5 hair clay in, that's just going to weigh it down, make it look greasy, all these things. So you have to do the research in terms of what what you have. You know, everyone's dealt some cards. Yeah. So what are your cards saying?
That's right. Let me just actually quickly plug a shameless plug, unfortunately, about Humanery's personalized recommendation service. Actually, you can go to humanery.com and see this promo there to get a personalized set of recommendations, tailored recommendations for your hair type, skin type, and whatnot. A very quick survey, and you get a free gift too. And actually, oftentimes TenT shows up as one of the recommendations because people are looking for some general well-being. But anyway, that's a shameless plug. Carry on, sorry.
But I would say genuinely look at smaller brands. So someone in the previous podcast mentioned about Kiehl's, and whilst Kiehl's is not a smaller brand, they will give you the guys in there are brilliant. I used to work opposite at Kiehl's, and you would go in and you know, the guys in the white coats, they will give you an assessment of what your skin is like. They'll tell you, and of course they'll try and plug you some Kiehl's products. Sure. Yeah. But at least, even if you don't buy anything, or if you do buy something, you will walk out with an idea of what your skin is like, or what your hair is like. But yeah, I would look at smaller brands. The reason I say that is not because I'm just a smaller brand, but because they often care a bit more. Awful to say, but you look at the bigger brands out there, and they pump out some great products, they do, but they often don't give the time and energy and things, you know, that perhaps a smaller brand would, to really making it stand out, really giving you some advice. You know, if you were to email a lot of these smaller brands, they'll get back to you with like really detailed ways that their product can help and all these kind of things. So why not give some of the smaller brands which are trying to grow a go, because often they'll care, whereas a L'Oreal won't. You know,
that makes sense. It's just a scale difference. Yeah.
And also there is a difference between men's and women's, and I think in bigger companies that isn't seen quite as much as it is in the smaller companies. You know, the smaller men's brands are really designed for men's grooming. So yeah, go for them. Give them a go. And I can recommend a few. Like some of them out there are obviously TenT, but
TenT, yeah.
You know, some of the other ones out there are really awesome. They do some great stuff.
Okay. So look, then let's go into some specific situations. And actually what we want to know is like, what would be your own grooming or self-care hack when you are faced with this situation? Keep it very simple. Stuff that you would do for yourself. Okay. So I'm going to tell you about a couple of situations. The first one, you're going outdoors and it's sunny and windy. What does Andy do in that situation before going outdoors? Your grooming or self-care hack. Yeah.
I would use a moisturizer with a bit of SPF in it.
Yeah. What level of SPF for those who don't know?
I mean, I only go like 15. I'm not particularly pale. It is winter, so perhaps I look it. But I've got quite kind of darkish skin in real life. But I just go like a 15. This is something I wish I'd been doing since I was like 20. Genuinely,
SPF I think is still important, right? Yeah.
I've only got into it in the last few years, and you know, I wish I got into it when I was. Wish I got into it in my late teens.
Why? I mean, again, for those who are watching and listening, why is SPF so important? Why do you wish you had started it earlier when you were much younger?
Just in terms of skin care, like if you want your skin to look good, that means reduced wrinkles, reduced blotches, reduced pigmentation. And the sun is the number one causer of all of these things.
Indeed.
It is the number one. Because what happens is the UV breaks down your skin particles of pigmentation. And over time, it stops growing back the same. It loses its elasticity and all these things. And we end up having to fight from behind, you know. So my products, such as the skin supplement or collagen, does help. It helps. It will help try and rebuild some of that structure. You can find some great moisturizers out there, and you don't have to spend a fortune. I actually use, weirdly, despite me saying that I like using smaller brands, I do use a Clinique, so I'm kind of going against myself there, but a Clinique BB cream, which has got 15
SPF in it. We actually have some really incredible brands now with BB cream that have SPF 25, some natural moisturization. So actually, that's a really good tip. And
I mean, this goes back to that masculinity thing though, but the BB cream, and my girlfriend mocks me for it, but I just don't care, has a slight tint in it.
yes, yeah, and it just evens out. Yeah.
It evens you out. If you want to try something, and you want to try that, but you don't want to spend a fortune, and you're probably going to hate me saying this, but go to Lidl. They do a BB cream, which is about £4. It is nowhere near as good as the good ones. But why not give it a go, see how you feel about it, and then if you feel all right about it, then go on to Humanery and get the good one.
Yeah.
But it's about, I found it took me a bit of time to be used to, it almost looks like you're putting on makeup. Not that I'm against men wearing makeup, but it's not, because it works into your skin and just looks great.
Yeah, and I think this is again something worth acknowledging. Yes, BB cream is traditionally classified or categorized as makeup, but men's makeup is a fast-growing category, and we live in a world today where the definition of masculinity is changing, and actually it's about that feeling and looking good, and a way you behave and interact with people. And actually, if a little bit of BB cream evens out your skin tone, you feel better. What's the shame in that, man? It doesn't make you any less quote unquote manly or anything. Look, it's everyone's got to do what's best for them to feel better, right?
No, totally. I mean, I 100% agree. I'd like to think I've been an early adopter of things in the past, things that perhaps other men would be embarrassed about. And BB cream is one of them. Like I just don't care. No, it makes me feel good, makes me look good.
Andy, this is why we're so aligned and we get along. But look, then let's talk about another situation. You're about to go into a big in-person client meeting the next morning. So actually, is there anything that Andy would do the night before that's different?
Yeah, do you know what? Now this is a shameless plug of one of my products, but you can get cheaper versions. Yeah. I would definitely take the sleeping supplement, because I don't actually have too bad of an issue sleeping, so it's not something I take regularly, which is probably a bad thing to say, but actually I don't. But if I really need a really good sleep, then obviously I take that. But actually, the thing that I do is I do the clay mask.
Yeah.
So I've got a clay mask that we do, which if you haven't tried it, it's brilliant. Like, it is absolutely brilliant. It's probably the slowest seller of the whole range, but it is brilliant. And my skin, 15 minutes in the evening watching TV beforehand. I'd probably do it once a week anyway, but if I knew I had a big meeting, then it would definitely be done. Followed by, I would actually use the TenT moisturizer, but you can use something similar, which is kind of soft, so it doesn't have any retinol in it or anything. It's more kind of natural. So retinol's great. Mm-hmm. It really is great. Again, someone on one of your podcasts was talking about it, and it is great, but it can make your skin a bit blotchy. And little tip for people that I think a lot of people don't realize is, if you wear retinol at night, which most people do, is make sure you properly wash your face the next day before going out. Or if you're doing it in the morning, you have to put SPF over it, because the sun will just, even if it's cloudy, and it's cloudy in the UK a lot, but even the rays coming through the clouds will really hurt the skin if you're wearing retinol. But yeah, I mean, I didn't realize this for a long time when I was first using a retinol product, and my skin went really poor, and I was doing research, what's going on, and it's like, you have to wear an SPF. Actually, it was a guy in Kiehl's that told me you have to wear an SPF. Well, credit to them.
Yeah, glad. Yeah, and thanks for sharing that education with everyone on the show. So look, last question for you, Andy, before we break. What do you have coming up in the next few months? Can you share any plans with us?
Hair thickening shampoo.
Lovely.
I just can't wait. It is so good. It's again made in the UK at a really great factory up north, actually, and I cannot wait.
And what's going to be the defining feature of that from an ingredient perspective? Maybe if you can give us a sneak preview. You don't have to tell us the whole secret sauce.
It's basically using biotin and saw palmetto again, which can be used. but yeah, it's the way it's being put together with some other ingredients, and trying to keep it again as natural as possible, because there's no point having a nutrition brand that makes this, and this all kind of natural, and then being like, oh, and here's a super, paraben-y, here's a super sulfatey hair shampoo, which is going to burn your scalp to keep your hair. Yeah, I just can't wait. I can't wait. It's going to be awesome. Well, changing up the branding on it a little bit as well, make it a bit more interesting.
Looking forward to it, Andy. That sounds really exciting. We're so excited to have that at Humanery as well. But look, thanks again, Andy. It's been a long time coming. This has been a wonderful chat. I've had a lot of fun, and I've also learned so much. I hope our people watching and listening have also learned just as much. And you can check out the entire range of TenT Nutrition at Humanery, and use a discount code podcast10 if you're a new customer for a first time 10% off at checkout to get some of the TenT Nutrition products. And Andy, hopefully we'll see you again soon. This has been real fun. Thanks for joining us today.
Of course, anytime.